Good morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Center community, I want to welcome you here today. Thank you for bringing your love into this space today. I want to just give you a few heads up announcements. The bathroom for today is just this right through this door, and it's ready for you. Also, if you are looking for a chair, there are several here still available, and if anyone knows where the ones in the back are, I forgot to bring them around, and we may need them, it looks like. So there are 2 black chairs on the patio back there if anyone wants to grab them, if it looks like someone needs a chair. So thank you for coming and joining me in my extended living room this morning. It's so very sweet to be here with you and to have the chance to do this. I keep thinking about the fact that, things are changing so quickly right now. Who knows what next week looks like? Who knows what tomorrow looks like? So what a precious time to just recognize that we get to be here together, and that's unique and powerful and meaningful. So thank you for bringing your love into my yard today. I want to tell you a little bit about something I've been thinking about, because it's funny sometimes where we get our lessons, and one of my lessons has been from my garden this year. So what I did early in the season, I bet on an early spring, and decided that this was the year I was going to plant a bigger garden. So I have this little sweet garden out front, and then I have a bigger one in the back. And I planted a bunch of seeds, and some of them took and some of them didn't. So I decided, okay, so what didn't grow? What do I need to check and see if I can find a plant? Because I would really like to have this in my garden this year. So I went and I bought a cucumber plant. And so in the past, I've grown all kinds of cucumbers, and from anywhere from the Armenian cucumbers, if you know what those look like, they're like ribbed, and they're like, they can get like 2 feet long really fast, and they're quite delicious, or just, normal cucumbers. But I didn't pay a huge amount of attention to the plant I bought, and all I saw that it said that it was burpless, and I was like, oh, cool, burpless, sure, that sounds good. Burping less is always good, right? So I planted it, and I didn't think much about it, but I kept thinking, where the heck are these cucumbers? Like, where are they? Like, it's blooming, it's growing, it's taken over a huge part of of the garden. Where are they? And so on further inspection, we discovered that these are not normal cucumbers. These cucumbers are about the size of a fingernail, maybe smaller. And they are delicious, but they are tiny. And so the wisdom in this for me has been just watching all the things that we expect to happen, how we expect things to show up, how we expect the things to arrive, and sometimes they just don't look like that. So Sharon, I gave her some last week, and because I thought she'd be amused by them, and she said they look like watermelons for doll houses. They're so cute, and they are tasty, and you have to pick a lot of them. So thank God that plant took off, because it really did take over, and so. All of these things that are happening in the world and around us, I know for myself, not necessarily looking how I think they're supposed to, or arriving at the right time, or sometimes looking smaller or bigger or sideways than what I think they should be. And what if we open to the magic of things showing up exactly as they are, and what can happen there? So that's been where I've been this week in my garden, and tell you a little bit more in a bit, but I'm just going to invite you, if you're comfortable, to join me in closing your eyes and coming fully present to being here and to this precious moment where all of these things are showing up in expected and unexpected ways all around us. And I just recognize the power and the presence of the one right here and right now, living and moving and breathing and having its being as all of that which is asking for our awareness, all that which we're being asked to open to breathe into. And so I just recognize this power, this love, this light guiding us today. It has guided us to be together in community. It is guiding us in our next right steps. It is guiding us in whatever comes to the surface for our clear reflection and for our sacred witness. And so I just know that right where we are is exactly where we're supposed to be, right here and right now. And so I deeply let go into this moment, into the sweetness of this precious moment. And I let it be. And so it is.
Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Pour your love in me. Pour your love into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Shine your light in me. Shine your light into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Shine your light in me. Shine your light into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Wonderful Spirit.
prepare the way for our meditation this morning, I return to an old favorite of mine. It's called The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out on the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, tell me, tell me. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? And so we take that question, what is it that we plan to do with our one wild and precious life? And we allow the meditation to move us today.
John Bartlett called Roasting Chili Fills the Air. Here's a tune by Miles Davis. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the things that I've been thinking about recently has been all of the things about this pandemic that have made me realize some of the things that I've taken for granted. And, some of them are not things that are surprising to me, that there are things that I miss experiencing. And then there's some that are surprising, like I never thought I really took for granted toilet paper or took for granted the post office before, right? Like, what the heck, guys? But okay, that's a different subject. But what I've been really thinking about is like this sense of how do we remember the preciousness of things so that we are not taking them for granted. And some of the sweetness that has come out of this experience, for me, on some levels, has been the fact that some of the people in my life who are very dear to me have started to express that in new ways. And so I've got a lot of people around me who we now end up, every conversation we have ends with, "I love you." And that didn't exist before for us, before this experience. And I realized that there's some really deep sweetness in making sure that we're not taking our relationships and the opportunity to be together and music, and that we're not taking it for granted because it is so incredibly precious. And so I've been experiencing this kind of sense of loss, not just loss of habits, but I've recently had several more layers of loss around me, of people meaningful to me, and just this sense of how do I live in this world where we are collectively experiencing so much loss and make sure that my focus is on the right thing. Because when my focus is on the loss, then I lose this gratitude and this space of just how precious it was to be able to have that experience in the first place. Just how precious it is to be here, even in the annoying things. Like I love summer, but how precious it is that there are things called flies all over me right now. Like how precious it is that we get to have that experience. And this sense of how do I keep my focus there? Because when I keep my focus there, everything makes a lot more sense. Everything begins to be magnified. The things that I want to be paying attention to, instead of all of the rest of the stuff. Plenty of the rest of the stuff. So the Dalai Lama says that every day we should wake up and think as we wake up, today I'm fortunate to be alive. I have a precious, precious, precious human life, and I am not going to waste it. I'm going to use all of my energies to develop myself and expand my heart out to others and to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. And what a perspective, right? To start our day not with everything that we need to do or this idea of all the things that are wrong with the world, but instead, like, what a precious thing to be awake again for another day, to have this opportunity to make an impact, to transform ourselves and to therefore transform this whole thing we're doing. And can I keep my focus there? So there's this beautiful book that Mark Nepo wrote that I think is the one that actually catapulted him into to people knowing about him the way I think he deserves to be known about, and it's called The Book of Awakening. And it's a book that is one of the few actual hardcover books I still have. Most of everything else is now digital in my world, but it's one of them because I can open it up to any day whenever I'm going through and find some wisdom there. It's a daily reminder book. And the essay that he starts off with for January 1st is something that I've had to come back to over and over again recently, and it talks about this precious human birth that we've been given, this experience. And so I want to share with you what he says. He starts off with all of the passages with this short poem-y sentence, and so this is that. Of all things that exist, we breathe and wake and turn into song. There's a Buddhist precept, he says, that asks us to be mindful of how rare it is to find ourselves in human form on earth. It is really a beautiful view of life that offers us a chance to feel enormous appreciation for the fact that we are here as individual spirits, filled with consciousness, drinking water and chopping wood. It asks us to look about at the ant and the antelope, at the worm and the butterfly, at the dog and the bull, at the hawk and the wild, lonely tiger, at the 100-year-old oak and the 1,000-year-old patch of ocean. And it asks us to understand that no other life form has the consciousness of being that we are privileged to. It asks us to recognize that of all of the endless species of plant and animals and minerals that make up the earth, a very small portion of life has wakefulness of spirit that we call being human. That I can rise from the depth of awareness is to express this to you, and that you can receive from me is an instant part of our precious human birth. You could have been an ant. I could have been an anteater. You could have been rain, and I could have been a lick of salt. We were blessed in this time, in this place, to be human beings alive in rare ways we often take for granted. All of this is to say this precious human birth is unrepeatable. So what will you do today, knowing that you are one of the rarest forms of life to ever walk the earth? How will you carry yourself? What will you do with your hands? What will you ask, and of whom? Tomorrow you could die and become an ant, and someone will be setting traps for you. But today, you are precious and rare and awake. It ushers us into grateful living. It makes hesitation useless. Grateful and awake, we ask, what do you need to know now? Say what you need to feel now. Love what you love now. And so when we get into this place where we remember how unrepeatable and precious not just being alive is, but this moment, this very moment where we're sitting here in the middle of August in a series of really hot days, and we get to experience what it is like to be here now in this very moment, like the preciousness when we get there. Then we all of a sudden, all of the things that maybe we were irritated about or the things that feel uncomfortable somehow have a place in our lives where we're then able to move into, at least for me, a place of gratitude, of just being able to experience it. And I know that with all of these things that are feeling like they're being stripped away, the revelation of what we've taken for granted, while at the same time, like just this sense of the preciousness of all of it, is this sense for me that there's something bigger going on here. There's like a grand reevaluation, because I don't know about you, but I think at the beginning of all this, I kept hearing people who somehow thought we were going to be through it pretty fast, and thought that things were just going to go, back to normal. Heard a lot of, let's go, the new normal. I want things to be normal. And I'm not hearing that anymore. What I'm hearing is, or what I'm sensing and feeling and hearing around me is people realizing that there is a grand reevaluation of everything that needs to happen, about how we are treating one another, how we are treating this planet, how we're going about all of the things that we're doing. And all of these things that we just took for granted as never going to change we now realize that they can, right? Because they did. They had to. And how precious it is to be at this place where we have this opportunity to no longer keep on saying, well, it's just the way it's always been. It's just going to keep going that direction, and actually have the conversation about what really is precious. Like, is our attention on that, or is our attention on the stuff that's just consumable, that gives us some sort of sense of or a feeling that then is just momentary and we're off to the next thing? what is this deeper thing that's calling to us? So there's this poem by David White that is actually not about summer. It's about winter and about listening. But he starts this poem with this quote that I think, with this, it is his quote. So I don't know what I'm saying, but with these words that feel so real. And what he says is, "What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that diminish its presence." I'm going to say it again. What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that that diminish its presence. And it feels so like he captured something so powerful there in that just short sentence, which is, all of those ways in which we try and capture that preciousness and put it into words and make it explainable, and in all of those ways diminish it. And that there's something happening right now that does not care to be diminished by our explanations of it. Like, we are experiencing a collective loss that is moving in all of us in different ways, on different levels, but we are experiencing it collectively in this way that is, it's happening, but does not care to be known in a language or in our minds in a way that will diminish it. And so this kind of leaning in to our experience instead of trying to explain it, and actually just allowing ourselves to open to the preciousness of even being able to recognize that we have this moment to be doing this kind of shift, I believe has been something that is opening in me another level of this experience. So I'm laughing because I believe I am that young man who drives that car's biggest fan, and I'm always interested in what music he's going to be blasting when he passes here, about probably 40 times a day. It's awesome. I don't know what, he just drives in circles. I know where he lives now, even I tracked him down. But I literally am his fan club, so there you go. He makes me smile so many times a day because the music is awful, and he listens to it really loudly, and I find it way more amusing than I probably should. So there you go. My friend in the turquoise Corolla. Yeah, I'm going to have to introduce myself someday. So, you never know how what you're doing brings joy to anyone else. You never know how precious it is that you liken to drive around the neighborhood with your windows down, blasting music brings joy in unexpected ways to unexpected people. So here it is, right? It's precious. It's precious. And here we are. What are we going to do with it? So I love those questions that Mark Nepo asks. How will you carry yourself? What will you do with your hands? What will you ask, and of whom? And these questions are questions that lead us deeper into why we're really here. Like, why we're really here, not like all of the labels we put on ourselves and all of our identities and all of the things we think we are. And a lot of those for a lot of people have been in question recently, right? Like, how do I relate to the world if I don't relate to the world in the way I always did? And all of that gets to shift and change when we allow ourselves to get into why we're really here, which is not about any of that. It was never about all of the places we went and the people we did things with. It was never about any of that. And so here we are having this tremendously difficult experience on all kinds of levels. And how is it that we want to carry ourselves? What is it that we want to lead us into remembering? What is it that we can open ourselves to never taking for granted again? Because this is a precious, precious, precious thing that we get to do together. Whether it's sitting in a yard on a Sunday morning or or being able to even just see each other's eyes, in person. What precious, precious, precious thing that is. And I'm not talking about like precious, oh, that's cute, right? Like that's not the level of precious I'm talking about. I'm talking about that ache inside that just recognizes, oh, wow. Like this is actually extraordinary. All of it. Even the parts that feel so challenging, how extraordinary that we can figure out how to make it work. And so I just am inviting us into a deeper level of remembering that because I know in my own sense of loss and the experience of the physical loss of several people around me in the last week, even just feeling that sense of how precious it was that we got to walk on this planet at the same time that our paths crossed at all is something that's reminding me that there's something bigger happening here, and reminding me to get back to that place, so that when I am encountering the miracle of walking on this planet with all of the beings that are here and not here in whatever way, that I'm really experiencing the fullness of that I'm not taking it for granted, because there's so much in that, and there's so much preciousness that is lost in our busyness and in our ideas about how things are supposed to look. We lose the actual preciousness of the opportunity to really be here. So Rumi says it in this kind of glorious way. He says, there's a loneliness more precious than life. There is a freedom more precious than the world, infinitely more precious than life. And the world is that moment when one is alone with God. And that's that place we get to when we remember really that freedom, that precious freedom that we have to be fully communed with the one that sent us here. And how sweet to remember that and to access that, especially when we get distracted or distressed, remembering how precious it is that we get to even be having the distress in the first place. So I'm going to ask the band to come up and join me as we anchor this in prayer. And I'm going to ask you, while we prepare the way for that, to maybe think about some place in your life where maybe you've taken something for granted, and that maybe you're willing to experience the preciousness of it. Or maybe it's even something that feels like a struggle right now. And maybe there's some room for finding some gratitude for the opportunity to even experience the struggle. So please join me as we sing into our prayer.
A prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free.
So our prayer of love today is a prayer of gratitude for this very moment. Gratitude that we get to be here on this planet at this time, with everything that's going on around us and in us, that we get to be here, available, aware, awake, that we have the capacity to love and be loved. And just in gratitude for the miracle it is that we get to be here at all. We open ourselves to just feeling what it means truly to allow for our real power to show up. When we remember how very precious it is that of all of the time and space, that of all of the places and forms we could have taken, we happen to find ourselves in these forms at this time, having this experience together. And I just know that it is no mistake that the one shot us here through all of eternity to find one another, to bump up against one another, to sometimes rub up against and scuff off the rough surfaces of one another, sometimes making sparks. It is no mistake that we find ourselves here in the midst of all of this change. And so we allow ourselves to remember, though, that we are here on purpose and with purpose. And we allow ourselves to love the way we only know how. That unique way that is totally ours. And so we are just grateful to be here, to be awake, to be alive. We open ourselves even further to whatever it is that we're called into with this wild and precious life that we've been given. And we just let go into that. And we let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer lifts us.
Completely honest and tell you that one of the things I took for granted before all of this was live music. And I have these guys in my life, and I could call them on any given day and say, "Where are you playing tonight?" Especially in the summer, and go listen. In fact, a lot of people are promoting things right now using photos I've taken at their events because I'm like, I'm there, right? Like I show up. And so I just want you all to know how precious you are to me and how much I know that just being able to do this feels like some sort of like gift, some deep gift. So the other thing that I also recognized that I took for granted was being able to see you all. Especially, during that time when everything was shut down and we were doing service in my living room. Just Sid and Zephyr and I, and the preciousness of just being able to see faces and to remember how connected we are. So thank you, and for those watching online, just know that we love you and we're holding you in this space with us, and looking forward to a time when it feels safe for everyone to be together, whenever that is going to be. But we don't know when that's going to be, so we're going to keep on taking every moment as a precious moment. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for continuing to love and support this community, for your generosity that's allowing us to keep keep going. So there are baskets in the trees for making donations if that feels like the way you'd like to do that. We also have a spot on our website, onespiritualcenter.org, where you can leave a donation. And we really are very grateful for all of the love and support, because it is precious to be able to do this and to keep on going. Just a few announcements. One is that on the fourth Saturday of this month, we will be at Roadrunner Food Bank together, being of service there. If you are called, you want to join us, we'll be there from 11 to 2. And we basically do whatever they ask us to do, from sorting bread to I think we've done some yucky stuff before, sorting rotten produce sometimes, rotten vegetables. That's kind of yucky, but we also sometimes work in the clean room and bag cereals and beans that then get distributed. So if you're interested in joining us, we will be there, and I don't even know, is that this weekend? I have no idea what day of the week it is right now. It's just, there's so much going on all at once for me right now. It's that time of year, I think, that the harvest starts to come in. So also, please, thank you for bearing with me. If I owe you something, a return phone call or email, I will get there eventually. I'm sorry, too, for... gotta figure out how to make it all happen. I was actually thinking about, it's very interesting. So between Zephyr and I work with school children in China. Zephyr works a lot with furniture dealers in Denmark. And then we have this whole life here in this time zone, and it's kind of really hard to figure out like how to make everything work. In the craziness of a lot of different time zones and when things need to happen. So it's pretty amusing right now. We'll figure it out eventually. What time zone are we in? What time is it where we are? Where is it dark? Is it light? I'm not sure. So thank you for being here. And I also have had a few people reach out for prayer requests. So if there's something you'd love prayer about, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we have a prayer team that is on it. So please let me know if there's something we can support you in. It's just good to reach out. Thank you for being here. And I think we are ready to sing, so please join me.
Let's get
Thank you so very much for being here. You are precious to me. Don't forget bagels, and it looks like there's some squash over there. And I believe that if someone wanted to go pick squash out of our garden, there's probably tons of it, but we just have not made it back there yet. So thank you for being here. We have one last blessing to sing to one another.
place ranks like